How many people have a smartphone? An iPhone, an Android, a Windows phone? The majority of people. I think probably the only people who doesn't have a smartphone in this room is my wife. Because she simply refuses to have one. But that's a whole nother story. We have in our pockets today several million times more computing power than was in the lunar module that landed on the moon. Okay? If you think about that, the lunar module had less computing power than an Apple II computer from several decades ago. My point is to get you to use the power that's in our pockets every day to help you in your life and in your career. Now, just a word of technology talk here a moment. I am demonstrating this on an iPad, basically so I can do the projection for you up here. Everything I show you, as far as I know, is available also for Android phones and Android tablets, and perhaps in some cases even Windows phones and Windows tablets. Okay? If the exact program I show today isn't available, there will probably be some other similar program that you can find on whatever platform you're using. So don't let that throw you off at all. I'm really just using this so I can get this projection screen up here for you. Now, one of the first things that can kind of get lost in your career search and your career building is what I consider the most important thing about any person who's working anywhere for anyone, and that's being on time. That's being on time, being where you're supposed to be at the time you're supposed to be, hopefully a little early, so you're there a little early. We have tools in our pockets that allow us to basically be the most efficient and on-time person on the planet, if we use it, okay? One of my favorite tools to get us started today, as far as it goes for this aspect of our career building, is a program called Waze. If you haven't seen Waze, it's been mentioned on ABC 7 a lot. They actually use the traffic data from Waze as part of their daily broadcast. Waze is a navigation program, just like your GPS, your Garmin, or whatever. You might have a standalone device in your car. If you don't, you can use your phone to do the exact same thing. Here it is. You can see it's actually located us exactly where we are today. And if we wanted to say, I'm just going to say I have my home programmed in. It's one of the first things you do with Waze. You can say, well, take me home. It's going to calculate a route out.
Get started. Drive safely.
And as you can tell, it has voice navigation. So I have a mount in my car that holds this in the lower left-hand corner of your window. By the way, that's the law nowadays in California. It has to be in the lower left-hand. It can't be in the center anymore. But I have a little holder for my phone that sits there. I plug my power into my, what used to be called the lighter, back in my day, now called the accessory outlet on your car, so you don't have to worry about running down your battery, and away we go. I simply let it navigate me on my way. Now, the great thing about Waze is that you can store up these addresses. If I stop navigation for a second and I go back here, you can see that there's a thing called calendar events here. Calendar events allows me, if I have something in my calendar already with an address attached, I can simply select that event and it will automatically grab that address and start me on my way there. So it's very much integrated with everything else. Along your path here, you'll see the purple line is your path. You'll see these little bubbles. Those are other people using Waze, because one of the biggest powers of Waze is it's real time. Everyone is out there and capable of reporting traffic problems, traffic slowdowns, accidents, cars on the shoulder, police activity, whatever, in real time. And because your phone is connected to the internet, you can get that update and that data in real time. One of the best uses for that is, if we look here, I just happen to see a street here that's showing a little yellow right there. Let me see if I can get it on the screen properly. That's showing that in the northbound direction, that road is a little slow right now at that point. What Waze will do is, if you're driving down the freeway to your destination and all of a sudden a major buildup happens in front of you, Waze will reroute you off the freeway, up a side street, and back on after the traffic jam that you're about to experience. Okay? This has helped us many times coming back from various events. You'll be tootling along, it's like, why has traffic just stopped? And then all of a sudden you'll hear Waze do its little bloop, notice that it's rerouting you, and it'll start to say, exit here, go up here, do a right here, do a left here, come, and it's like, okay, sure. Because it has that real-time data, it can do that. Because it's getting input, even from the sheer act of me driving my car, it can tell if I've slowed down for a certain amount of time, and will say, have you slowed down? Are you in traffic right now? And I can go, yes, I am. And it'll now report that to everybody else who's using Waze. Okay? Devices like this, programs like this, are amazingly helpful no matter what you're doing, whether you're going near or far. even when I'm going someplace I know how to get to, if you look at the bottom, you'll see that it gives you an ETA and a mileage. I will often just use it for the ETA to make sure I'm on track. I'm supposed to be there at 9:30. Okay, Waze says with traffic and everything calculated in, I'm going to be there about 9:15. Okay, I'm good to go. And if I'm not, I better find a different route, or I better call ahead and say, hey, I'm sorry, I'm stuck in traffic, I'm going to be a little late. But again, it gives you that opportunity to appear like you got everything in order. Because as we know, life is difficult, life is busy, and sometimes things get out of control, but we can use tools like this to keep us on track and going the right direction. Now, of course, you don't have to use Waze. Nowadays, the built-in mapping apps are actually capable of doing turn-by-turn directions as well. The iPad has Apple Maps, there's also Google Maps available, and in both of these, I can actually do something like, let me see if this works here. Navigate to home.
I don't know your home address.
Ha!
Tap your name if you'd like to add it.
This is one of the issues of using someone else's computer. This is my wife's computer, and she has not set that up. If I had a home set, I can do that. I can also just go in here, and I'm just going to type in my address real quick. I could also speak it in if I learned how to type. There we go. Bam, there it is. And I can say directions in the upper left-hand corner. Right, from current location, route. And you'll see it'll do approximately the same thing. If I say start directions, you gonna start talking to me? You might not start talking to me unless I move, but it would basically give me the same step-by-step, turn-by-turn directions. Now, of course, every once in a while you do run into some oddities, the fact that it doesn't know that 980 exists. It doesn't know that Enchanted Way is built out up here yet. The maps aren't updated yet. Yes?
A quick question. Programs like Waze, is there any cost associated?
No. Oh, I should have started off with that, actually. I'm notoriously cheap. Notoriously so. Everything I show you today, I believe, if I remember correctly, is free. And that's always a place to start. Yes, there are apps. There's some apps. There's an app called Scout that I have on my phone. There are actually Garmin programs and TomTom programs you can get for your devices that are relatively expensive. There's no need for that. I really don't have, I've never found a need to go that far with any of those paid applications. The free applications tend to work just great. Yes, sir?
What is the advantage of having Waze as opposed to Google Maps?
Waze automatically and intelligently intermixes that traffic data into its routing. The other maps will show you traffic. If we go to the maps, you may have seen that on your Google Maps, your Apple Maps, you'll see traffic shown there. In fact, right there, it's a little orange dotted line telling us it's a little slow southbound on 1st Street right now. They will show you that, but they don't necessarily take that into account when they're navigating you in turn-by-turn directions. Another great feature of Waze, and there's actually websites and other standalone apps you can get on your devices as well that can be really helpful in today's environment, is if I click Navigate over here and then I say, you'll notice in the upper right-hand corner it says Gas. If I click Gas, it says, where are the gas stations near me and which has the cheapest price? This uses data from a website called GasBuddy.com. They have their own app as well. But if you're needing gas, it can actually be very helpful. And it tells you how far off your route it might be, how close it is to you right now, and then you can actually click on the gas station and it'll simply navigate you right there to get your gas. The gas prices I find are fairly accurate. They're updated by individuals out there who are basically taking the time to report, here's the gas price here today. But they tend to be rather accurate because there's enough people out there reporting in that they get reported in at least once a day, and usually sometimes even more frequently than that. Okay. So that's, again, another little money saver that you can use Waze for. The second most productive thing you can do with your smartphone device is actually one of the built-in features of it, and something we use on occasion for, maybe using with the family or other things. That's the camera. The camera can be so useful in so many different ways. You got a business card, pop a picture of it. You want to remember someone's face, take the picture. You want to remember a form, take a picture of it. You want to remember the hours at your favorite store, take a picture of the hours that are posted on the door. You can scan in documents. Actually, you can do some fairly good pictures of documents. You can have them for later reference or later use. You can remember where you parked your car. Don't underestimate the power of the camera that comes in your device for its usefulness in helping you. You may say you're looking at job ads, job listings somewhere, and it's not digital, let's print it out somewhere. Well, heck, just boink, you've grabbed it, you've captured it. You didn't have to sit there and scribble it down, because as a computer person, one of the things we know very much is if you have to write information, you have to transcribe information, are almost guaranteed to introduce at least one error in that transcription. It's why we don't have people typing in materials anymore, and why we have digital stuff that transfers back and forth, because every time someone touches it, they will insert an error just out of sheer accident. So your phone can really help you with that. It basically grabs what's there in front of you, and you don't have to worry about that transcription error breaking in there. A lot of some of the other programs I'm going to show you today will also take advantage of that camera. We're going to move on to the next step about being on time. You say you've grabbed hours, you've grabbed a flyer with this so you know when you're supposed to be somewhere. Well, a lot of people don't use their simple calendar. And the fact is our digital calendars are so much more powerful these days than any paper calendar you can ever imagine. Back in the day, we had the family calendar stuck up on the refrigerator, and everyone had to write in what was going on. Oh, that got canceled, or that got moved, or, oh, we're doing this at 4 now, not 6. And you have all these scribbled lines and everything. Since it's been possible for me to do it, and yes, I am a tech geek, so I was doing this for a decade or more now, we have had shared calendars in our family. And right now, we have about 3 or 4 calendars. There's basically one for each of the 3 of us, and then any other calendars for groups or activities that we're involved in. We can share those calendars amongst us all. So I can take one glance at my calendar. If you look at you notice there's different colors on my calendar. I don't think there's anything too personal on our calendar. There is a presentation to open, though, over there on Friday. The colors mean something. The green are my wife's events. The red or pink in this case are my events, and I don't see any on this page. Let's see if I scroll to next week. I actually don't see it. The purple events, when they show up, are my son's events. He's a junior in high school now. He has lots of stuff that he's involved in. Play practice and choir practice and auditions were last night, and auditions for the play will be called back tonight. And those change, and he's got a girlfriend. So I'll look at my calendar, and it'll just have a big mark that says, reserve free time for me. I'm going to be doing something, and I'm going to need a ride. And he just puts a place mark in my calendar. But the fact is he can do that on his device, on his computer, on his, he has an older iPhone. He basically uses like an iPod Touch. There's no phone service. It's just a Wi-Fi device, but he can use that at school. He can put something in my calendar, and the minute he does that, within seconds, that calendar event shows up on my calendar, and I know, oh, okay, wait a minute. We may have a conflict here. I got to make sure that we can all be in the right place at the right time. That single thing alone, the shared calendar, and being able to see what's going on in your life and the life of those around you immediately is so, so important and so, so useful. It can prevent tons of issues. Especially if you're out there looking for a job, you're setting up appointments, you're doing that, you're setting up an appointment here at the Career Center or Career Camp or whatever else. By capturing that information immediately, someone says, hey, let's meet for lunch at 1. Where? At 1 o'clock, here, you immediately grab your phone. Where? 1 o'clock at Panera Bread? Sure. Okay, boom. Where's that? Okay, yeah, it's that address? Okay, fine. Bam. It's in your calendar. It's there. Now, the joke is about countering and capturing information like that, too. And I actually have what I call my analog data collection device. I have a journal I carry around as well. If you want to be impressive to people, if you want to act and at least seem like you've got your act together, because, all of us have those moments, right? The single most important thing I've done in my career as a freelance career consultant is carried that book around, and when someone started to tell me something, or someone started to give me information about the computer and what it wasn't doing or what they needed to do, I would open up my book, I would take out my pen, and I would start to take notes. I had so many people tell me how impressive that was. How simple is that? How simple is that to take some notes? But it shows the person you're talking to that you are listening, you are capturing the information you need to capture, and you care about it. Nothing is more distracting than someone's like, oh, yeah, I'll do that. Sure, yeah, whatever. And they're doing something, they're on the phone, they're doing 100 other things. You know how you feel when that happens to you, right? There's no need for you to do that with other people. Now, today, there's a bit of a stigma to pulling out your phone when someone's doing that, but I preface that. I said, let me grab that information from you. Hold on a second. And it tells them, I'm not texting my wife. I'm actually doing something for you. But again, you can do that whether it's digital, whether it's on paper, does not matter. The act of doing it is what's so important. Yes?
If you're doing it digitally, taking notes from somebody, what program are you typing into?
We're going to talk. Thank you for the segue. I'll pay you afterwards. That is a great segue because there's a variety of applications that you can use, and I'm going to show off a couple of them. Now, the big boy, the big mama, the one you may have heard of, the one that kind of does everything whiz-bang, circles and arrows and fireworks and everything else is one called Evernote. And I will admit myself, it took me a long time to figure out how to use Evernote in my day-to-day life. Some people saw it and went, oh, that's perfect for me. I think it's a great program, but I sometimes have a little bit of trouble figuring out exactly how to use it. That's ways trying to navigate me. Hold on a second. Let's say stop navigation. Back up. Stop. There we go. Evernote, my description of Evernote, which I'm sure the developers would hate to hear, it's a shoebox. You know those tax shoeboxes where you just dump all your receipts and then you have to sort it all out at the end of the year? Evernote works in a similar fashion, but much more effectively. Evernote allows you to grab information from nearly anywhere, whether you type it in, whether you take a photo, whether you record an audio clip. There is a web clipper for your computer that allows you to basically grab a web page and store a permanent copy of it to your computer. Because as you know, certain things on the web can go away, right? Pages can disappear on you. Well, if you really want something, my wife's working on a book on the Monkees TV show, and those pages tend to come and go sometimes. So I really instructed her, said, when you find a page you like that has some information you like, clip it using Evernote, using just little extension you put in your browser, blink, takes a nice clip of the page and stores it permanently into her Evernote book, and allowing her to then go back and research that whenever she wishes. That actually is the biggest advantage of Evernote too. It is a shoebox, but it's a searchable shoebox. Yes?
Is that a Microsoft or Apple?
Evernote is its own company, separate company. Again, it is free. They have premium programs if you have lots of data you want to store in there, but the base program is totally free. It is available for your devices, whether your phone, your tablets, on your PC, and if you need to, you can sit down on any computer that has internet access and log into your Evernote account directly via the web. So that data is available to you wherever you go. That's another great advantage of it, is you can be nearly anywhere if you can get to the internet. And in the case of your device, it has a local copy here for a lot of the stuff. And even if you don't have internet service, you can still look stuff up. It's a great shoebox to store all your data. You can have multiple notebooks. You can have a business notebook and a home notebook or this. I tend to dump everything into one notebook. My wife has a notebook for each book that she's working on, basically, to kind of keep stuff divided that way. One nice feature of it, too, we talked about how to use the camera in your day-to-day life. With Evernote, what you can do is you can take a picture of something, say the label of a wine that you liked, or the cover of a book, or a page from a book, and while Evernote will not convert that picture to text, it has a little trick it does. It looks at the picture and it says, that looks like text to me, and it looks like it's these words, and it kind of stores an impression of what those words are. So if you're looking for a Pinot Grigio and you type in Pinot Grigio, it'll actually find that picture. If the label is clear enough to read, which in most cases it is, as long as you have decent lighting, hold still enough, it will actually find that picture because it's finding the text that was in that picture. Another great usage of it. So if you're looking for something to just start collecting information together and then allow you to search it, because of course you can collect all sorts of information in a shoebox, but if you can't get the information out, what good is it to you, right? That's what these tools allow you to do. They allow you to go in and do searches, to organize it however you wish. You can add tags to it. I don't know if you're familiar with tagging, but tagging is basically applying hashtags or keywords to various pieces of information and say, well, this is about careers, this is about gardening, this is about technology, and giving it kind of gross categorizations that way. So you can say, show me everything I've stored in Evernote that has a tag of technology on it, and it will show you a list of those things. So it can be very, very useful. That's one of the big boys. Now the fact is, you don't have to go all the way there. On every device, whether it's an iPad, an iPhone, an Android device, whatever, there will be some form of built-in Notepad app. Blank. There's the Notepad app. And you can just simply create a new note, you can start typing in, or in the case of all our devices nowadays, actually, do it this way. Now is the time for all good men to come to the aid of their country. New paragraph. The quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog. Period. New paragraph. Just talk to your computer and let it transcribe it for you. Now, the great thing about this is isn't an audio recording. This is actual text. This can be cut and pasted and edited and done whatever you need to do with it. One of the ways I use this sometimes is if I'm having trouble writing my column, which all of us have trouble writing sometimes, I will switch over to an analog device. I'll grab my book and my pen and I'll write what I want to write out in longhand. Well, I'm not the world's best typist. I don't like typing a lot. So I'll actually read what I've handwritten into the computer this way to get it digital, that first step. And then with a little bit of massaging and a little bit of editing, I now have a full digital document. Okay. Now, with the iPad 2, you saw that when I first brought it up, I can say, make a note about the open meeting in Simi Valley this Friday.
Noted.
Okay, and it's spelled Simi wrong, but basically,
And where did it go?
what it did is, when I said make a note, it said,
Note.
I'm going to put this in the Notepad. So now if I go back to the Notepad, you'll see that there's now a new note.
So it defaulted to...
When I said make a note, it's going to go into the default Notepad. Yes. Now the fact is, you can use in any program, and this works on Android or iPhones and iPads, if you're in any program and you bring up the keyboard, you see this little microphone down here in the lower left? That's what I used the first time. So any program you want to talk to, you could actually go into that program, and wherever there would be text input, you can simply hit the microphone, say what you want to say, tap it again, and it will translate that back. Okay. So there's some really useful ways of collecting notes and collecting information too, again, while you're on the fly. We should not be using our devices in the car. If I'm parked in a parking lot, not moving, I will sometimes do it, but sometimes even then it's great to be able just to hold down the home button, have Siri pop up and say, Siri, make a note that I need to pick up milk on the way home, otherwise my wife will kill me. You know, it's good to have reminders like that. In fact, that's another app that comes with all your devices these days, and that's a simple reminder app. This is the built-in reminders app for Apple. And what I can say there, I can do the same thing. I can say, remind me to pick up milk on the way home today.
Sorry, I can't create location-based reminders on this device.
Okay, I used a location. Now, if you're on your iPhone or mobile device, it would have known where home was, and it would have actually then reminded me as I got close to my home. It knows where I'm at and where I'm going. And so the location-based reminders can be very useful for that. You can also say, at a given time, in a given office, at an address, whatever you want to do. The reason that Siri didn't do it here is the iPad does not support location-based reminders, unfortunately.
So the trigger was location in this case.
Yeah, I said, take me home. And you can set up any, in your contacts list, you can define names. Like you can say, brother. Such and such is my brother. And it'll actually, if you set up the relationship in the contact list, it'll say, oh, do you mean Bob? And say, yeah. And it will know who your brother or your sister, it'll know who your, what did I see the other day? Your evil nemesis. You can define someone as evil nemesis in your context list and say, take me to my evil nemesis, and it'll direct you to your friend's house or whatever. So you can have some fun with that as well. But yes, yes, it's done through the Google app, the Google Now app, and there's ways of triggering it on your phone as well. And in fact, Google Now on the iPhone and the iPad will do a similar type of voice recognition and stuff, and they do a thing which is Siri is starting to get better at, which is this conversational thing, where you can kind of have a conversation with it. You can ask it a question, and it'll say this, and you say, oh, do this, and it'll do the next step in the process back and forth. Use reminders. I cannot possibly keep everything that I need to do in my head on a daily basis. And there's a gentleman named David Allen who wrote a book called Getting Things Done that says you shouldn't try to keep everything in your head. The best thing you can do is get it out of your head into a trusted system where you can refer to it so your mind is freed up to think about what the task at hand is. Use it as an outboard brain. That's exactly what I call mine. Okay, this is my little outboard brain. If I need to look something up, Roseanne will ask me questions oftentimes and say, I don't know, hold on, and I'll go look it up. Because I want to be sure I'm giving her the right answer, not guessing and perhaps having the wrong date, the wrong time, the wrong location, whatever. For me, it's always better to have a system to refer to so that I can look that data up. And it's so easy to do these days because if you integrate these devices into your life, if you carry them with you wherever you go, if you start to use Evernote, if you start to use the Notepad, if you start to use reminders, it's like a snowball rolling downhill. You sort of flick it and it starts out small, but the more you use it, the more useful it gets, the more data gets in there, the more it can do for you, the more it helps, and it just gets more and more and more. But you do have to start using it, and that's part of the reason I give it this talk, is to get people to use their devices a little bit more. Yes, sir?
Yes, maybe I'm giving you a segue, but I'm thinking, okay, well, are my calendars talking to my reminders?
They can. Your reminders can appear on your calendar. If they're date-based, like on Friday, remind me on Friday. Let me see if I can phrase that right. Remind me to get milk on Friday.
Here's your reminder for next Friday at 9 a.m.
Okay?
Shall Okay, I'll remind you.
So that would also tie into my calendar, depending on how I'm using it. But it will also pop up on its own. The reminder would say at 9 o'clock Friday, you'll get a little pong, and it'll say, did you get milk? Did you get milk? Oh, dang, I forgot to get milk.
But you would say reminder, you wouldn't say note.
Yes, reminder goes into the Reminders app, and there is a whole dialect that you talk to Siri in, and actually you can get, you may notice down here in the lower left-hand corner, there's a little question mark, and it'll give you tons of examples of what you can say and how to say it. So to do wake me up at 7 a.m. I cook a lot at home, and I'll often say now, I'll go, set timer for 20 minutes.
Okay, 20 minutes and counting.
Okay, in 20 minutes it's going to go off. Yes, in the back.
Two questions on what you just talked about. Set timer for 20 minutes. What program were you in?
That is built into the device. And it'll be built into your Android. If you're using the voice recognition on your Android, it'll be built into your iPhone or iPad if you're using it there. You know, iPad, it's using a system called Siri. So when I hold down my home button, set timer for 22 minutes.
Okay, 22 minutes and counting.
You just started a separate counter?
Yeah, this will have a different device. So I'm going to say done to that one.
The second question is I use Google Calendar.
Uh-huh.
Now, can I sync reminders up into there?
No, I don't think you can. But I use Google Calendar myself. All those shared calendars I was talking about, they're all in Google Calendar. They have in your Google Calendar, there is a reminder button when you put in an event that you can actually do. If you're using Google, you're you can do everything with the Apple way, or you can do everything with other methods. The trouble is, I was using these other methods before the Apple way came about, before there was iCloud and all this stuff, so I tend to use those methods. So in that case, if I need something like that, I will typically put an event in my Google Calendar and click the little reminder checkbox that says remind me 10 minutes before or whatever. And then speaking would be easier. Now you can create an event though. I don't know if you can select the reminder. I don't know if you can select the remind me aspect. I think you can when it comes up. Let's see. Set up interview for a new job Friday at 4 p.m. Stop there.
Okay, I set up your event with new job for next Friday. Shall I schedule it?
Yeah, yes.
Your event with new job is scheduled for 4 p.m. next Friday.
Yeah, and actually if I said, I should have said that differently. I should have said with the person rather than with the job. But then in the calendar, you can go in and you can set the reminder in the calendar event once it's created that way. It would be easier if you could do it directly, but
So what you just did that put the event in your calendar?
that did. In my Google Calendar, actually.
How do you distinguish between Google or you were in Google already?
I'm using Google, so everything goes into my Google. That's my default calendar.
You set it up.
Yeah, yeah. That's just because that's what I was using in the past. Yes?
So when you say Siri's the assistant for an Apple?
It's a voice recognition. That's the name of the voice recognition assistant for Apple, yeah.
Cortana for Windows?
Cortana for Windows is coming out now, yes.
And do you direct the voice input over to the calendar like he asked, or do you go right into the calendar and hit a microphone?
It depends. Well, it depends where I'm at. If I'm at my computer, of course, I'm just going to type it in, and that'll show up on the thing. If I'm in the car, I will typically do what you just heard here. I will at least put the event in there, the basics of the event in there, using what I just did. It says schedule an appointment here at this time. That will get that into my calendar, and then I can edit that later, either on here or at my computer, to add the reminder checkbox and stuff like that.
So bringing up Siri in your car, you're able to direct that into your
Yeah,
calendar.
I can at least do that initial chunk of carve out that space with this information. Yes?
Okay, so when it gives you a reminder, is it just going to give you some kind of signal on your phone, or is it going to give you a voice reminder?
It does. It pops up a thing, and it'll give you a tone. You can set the tone to go boom, and in this case, it comes up right in the middle of the screen and says, "Did you get milk?"
But it's not verbal, it's just.
It's not verbal. It'll just be a tone, right?
But on the Google Calendar, you can set it up as a pop-up on your phone, or send it to your email. And you can put it weeks in advance, days in advance, hours in advance.
Yeah.
Us use the calendar before you do that.
Yeah. I mean, when we booked this event, when we booked that I was going to speak here, that was several months ago. The first thing I did was put it in my calendar. Because when I'm flipping through my calendar, I tend to use it in week view, because I tend to like to looking at a week at a time. And I'll be flipping through, oh, darn, I totally forgot that we were doing that. Or there's a doctor's appointment, Monday, or, it allows you to kind of get an overview of things. But that's why I do it, because in our busy lives, it's so easy to simply forget things and to have things slip our mind. That any tool we can use to help us remember these things will benefit us greatly in so many different ways, both in our career, in our life, whatever. Question?
If you have an Android phone, you can sync your Google Calendar with your Android.
It will do it automatically, actually, because Android is Google is Google Calendar. The apps that are used, like here on the iPad, Apple have these apps, the calendar and the reminders and stuff. On an Android phone, it is Google Calendar. It is Gmail. It is these devices, because they're the same company, and so they use those default tools directly from that company.
So you have to synchronize when you're like Windows, Google, or iPhone, right?
Right, yeah. Basically, the point is being able to put your data in one space and have it appear everywhere else. So whether you input it on your device and it goes to your computer, input it on your computer, it goes to your device, input it on the web at someone else's computer, it goes to your, it'll eventually go to your computer, go to all your devices. That's what the cloud means. People kind of ask me, what's this cloud thing? The fact is, the cloud came from an old IT definition. Basically, when we drew a network diagram, we had our local networks, which were little rings, right? And we had our PCs that are all tagged. Well, then we started hooking up to the internet. We said, well, the internet is this amorphous thing. We don't know where our data goes. So well, just make it a cloud. And as long as you're connected to the cloud, you can get to your data that's out there on all your other devices. And that's what you're doing, is you're using that interconnectivity between all your devices. They're all connected to the cloud, and so they can all update themselves based off that information. When you enter it here, it can go wherever else you might want it to go. Yes?
Do you have any apps for note-taking where you can, just write handwriting directly or try to type?
Thank you for the segue again. Yes, I do. Yes, actually. Now, some real basic ones. There are some more advanced ones, free and paid. Both the ones I'm going to show you are free. Really basic one is simply called Ink. And in fact, you'll probably have trouble finding it in the App Store because it's so generic a name. But you look for Ink. And Ink is literally just that. It's just, you need to draw charts and bars and make a little flow chart or explain something to someone. You can just, use your finger and draw right on the screen. And you can then, if you wish, you can email these pictures to yourself. You can post them on Facebook, send them by mail, SMS, Twitter, or in this case, I'm just going to say clear, clear that off. Now, that's a really basic one, but I found it useful sometimes if I don't have a whiteboard around and I don't have my book, or I'm just sitting with someone. I like to draw things out. I think it's one of the great ways of explaining a concept to people, and so I'll often do that. And that's just a real quick one I keep around for that. The other one is called Penultimate. And Penultimate, it takes this to the next step. I actually researched this because my wife Roseanne teaches a class for Cal Poly in their interdisciplinary general education curriculum. And one of the things they do in that particular curriculum is they have kids do things in lots of different ways. And one of the ways they have them do things is they have them do storyboards. Well, Penultimate has a series of free papers. Okay, it's going to be funky. Let me see how to do that. That you can actually download and put. It's not going to rotate on the screen. Sometimes you run into that with the projectors. These papers you download, and this has a graphic area up here where I can, draw a picture and say, and the camera is going to track, left to right, and then I could go down here and say, write notes about it. And if you're doing a lot of writing, sometimes the stylus is better to do the writing with. it'll be a little easier to do. And I'm actually having some issues with the iPad today, unfortunately. I think the cover might be touching. But this is a great way of, then you can actually do more detail. There's even a graph paper. You can see here. So they have all different sorts of papers. They have pens, they have highlighters, they have erasers. You can cut pieces out with the scissors if you want. But very, very useful for that. Again, it takes the whole idea of the ink pages to a whole other degree. There are little notebooks that you can store up. All your drawings go into one notebook. You can create new notebooks for each project and things like that. There is another one that came up, and because she asked a question, I wasn't going to show it, but I will show it real quick here. My wife often has a need to annotate PDFs that she's gotten from her students. Nowadays, rather than having kids turn in papers on printed paper, we simply have them email them and send them around either via the system at the college or via straight email. So we get these PDFs, and what she needed to be able to do was actually annotate them, to be able to draw and or type into these PDFs. Oh, come on. This is a separate program. It's another company. It's in the App Store. And again, there are a variety of, get out of the way, there we go. There are a variety of similar apps you can get, but you could have, they can send you a PDF, you could circle things, you could red underline, you could scratch out. You could do basically the same type of editing you would do on paper in this Note app. And then it will save that PDF again and send it back to them with all the annotations in there. This is called Notes. And again, it's a very generic name, and I'm going to see here if I can find Paperport Notes. So if you do Paperport Notes, that'll help the generic. Sometimes when you're searching for something with a really generic name in the App Store, it's impossible to find. But Paperport Notes. And that's a program we went specifically to find for a particular need that we had of being able to annotate PDFs, save those annotations, and send them back to the students. That help? That's kind of of all of them, that's kind of the big boy. If you really have a need to do a lot of that, that's probably that one or something similar is what you're looking for. Okay. Let's see here. The other great advantage that your devices bring to you is the fact that you have a career center, you have a college classroom, you have a career consultant, a teaching consultant, you have a teacher, you have a professor in your pocket at all times. There are so many great resources out there on the internet that are easily accessible on your device no matter where you are, and I highly recommend you take advantage of them. Okay. You'll hear people say, well, that YouTube, that's filled with nothing but cat videos. If you have ever taken the time to simply do a search for something that you want to learn how to do, whether it's how to knit, how to brew beer, how to make a bomb, how to make fire. I'll adjust that and say how to make fireworks. How to make. I saw one just the other day. I have to look at more. How to make a soda pop bottle rocket launcher, air launch, whatever you want to do. Someone else out there probably wants to do it too. And you can have all these great resources. I simply did a search real quick. I said, show me Windows 8.1 demos. So if you're a tech person or you're going into an office where you need to know about Windows 8.1, the fact is if you watched a few of these demos, and yes, some will be doggy, some will be bad, and some will be great. That's your problem. You got to kind of sort through the good from the bad. Watch a few of these demos. You can probably be more knowledgeable than the person that's interviewing you. Okay? Because you've simply taken the time to dig into the system more and to understand the underpinnings of the system and be aware of the new features that are there. Why wouldn't you do that? The next time you're called in and it says requires Microsoft Office or Microsoft Word or anything like that, refresh your memory. Go look at a few demos. If you're going into an accounting office and accounting practices change like any other business change, do a little research online about how accounting practices have changed over the last year, what new laws are in effect, what new rules, what new methods, whatever. There's no reason you can't educate yourself. There's a term, the autodidact, the self-learner, the self-teacher. That's what I am. My wife, after having a career in television writing, went back and got her master's degree and a PhD. When she got her master's degree, she's like, oh, come on, we'll go do it together. And I'm like, no, I am not going back to school. This is not where I want to be, okay? Not that type of person. I got through high school. I got through my college. That's really all I wanted to do. That doesn't mean I stopped learning. I learn every single day, and the way I learn is through uses like this, uses like YouTube, uses like websites and blogs and all this other information that's available for you out there. Don't ignore YouTube especially, okay? There is, what do they say, there is, I know I'm going to get the stat wrong, there's 100 days of video posted each day to YouTube. So of the video, all the video that's posted to YouTube in a given single calendar day, it would take you 100 days to watch it. Okay, and that's constant. That's every day. Every day, new stuff being added. You will find that you have people that you like to follow too. If you find a particular demo that you like, follow that person, subscribe to that person. They will start to show up in your list of subscribed videos, and you'll start to see whatever new stuff they do. That's what we have to do these days, is we have to be our own kind of gatekeepers. We can't rely on the newspapers and the television so much anymore. We have to say, what do we like? What do we want to know? What do we want to learn? And start following the people who offer that information to us. And when you do that, you'll find that you might do what we did about a year or so ago, which is turn off our cable television, because we weren't watching it. We were watching YouTube. We were watching Netflix. We were watching free stuff on Hulu. We were watching free stuff on the web, whatever. We just weren't using our cable television. It was costing us $60 a month for nothing. Okay?
That's a deal.
Yeah, I know.
I can assure you that there will be stuff out there. And again, you can watch it on the bus. I get a lot done on the bus. Whenever I have jury duty downtown, I do not drive. I get the free bus pass or the free transit pass, and I get up in my morning, I walk down to the bus station near my house. We're right on the Orange Line busway there. I get on the bus, and I've got a good 45 minutes that I can just do whatever I want. I can read, I can watch, I can listen to music, I can research stuff if I want to research that. I'm just cruising along. Why wouldn't you do that for yourself? You know, if you're early, this device alone increased my productivity dramatically because I'm from the Midwest. I'm from Ohio originally, been on here for 20 years, but I am chronically, some will even say painfully early to my events, to my appointments. Well, you know, being more than 10 minutes early is a little bit of an inconvenience for other people. So typically if I arrived early, I'd have to have something to do in my car while I waited for the appointment. And that would have been in the past, maybe having a book to read or maybe taking notes or writing something. Now I can answer emails, I can communicate with people, I can look information up, I can post to my own blogs, I can do whatever I want sitting in my car, sitting at the coffee shop, sitting at the restaurant. It took what was downtime before and made it productive time. That doesn't mean you always have to be productive. Everyone needs a break sometimes. But if you want to be productive, it's there for you and usable for you. So don't ignore YouTube and other sources on the internet. Obviously, too, you can read books. This is like one of the simplest things that your devices can be. I have several Kindle books in the Kindle store. And I always have to remind people, you don't need a Kindle to read them. Okay? You can read a Kindle book anywhere. You can read it in a Kindle, if you have a Kindle. You can read it on your devices, be it iPhone, iPad, Android, Windows, whatever. You can read it on your computer through the Kindle desktop app, or if you don't want to install anything and you're on someone else's computer, you can actually visit the Amazon Kindle website and read your books right through the web browser on any computer. Okay? Secondly, there's lots of free books on the Kindle store and other stores that you can load into your devices using the Kindle app. We have been attending the Free Shakespeare at Griffith Park this summer, as we have for the last 8 to 10 years, and sometimes I like to have the script with me. In case I have a little trouble hearing, I can at least follow along in the script. Well, guess what? All of Shakespeare's works are available for free in about 1 billion different places that go right to your device. I can read them on my iPhone. I can take my Kindle Fire with me if I want. I have a Kindle Touch, which is a black and white, I can bring that with me. Doesn't matter. I can load them right in there, and I can read them wherever I go. So again, if you're on the bus, if you're traveling in a carpool, whatever, there's no reason not to have something that you can be useful doing if you wish. Sometimes you just want to look out the window. I understand that. I do that myself. I typically do that in the car a lot. But if you want to be productive, you can be. Question?
Another thing that Kindle has free is the Oxford English Dictionary.
Oh, yes.
Entire thing online.
I have a dictionary in here. I'd probably have to go through a bunch of books to go find it. those resources, and there's actually dictionary apps you can get too, that you can put right on your phone. And actually, if you want a trick here, define the word career.
Okay, give me a moment. From 3 definitions of career, the first one is the particular occupation for which you are trained.
Okay, and you can do the same thing on your Android phones. You can simply, I'll do that sometimes. I'll hit a word I don't know. And even today, it surprises me. I'm 50 years old. You think I knew most words that are being used in print, but what did we come across the other day? Froward in the Shakespeare. Froward. You don't get a lot of froward these days. It means unlikable and contrary and conflict related. But I looked up froward. Yes?
On the Android phone, you just...
It'll be built into the search box. There's a search box in there. It'll be built into the search box, yeah. Now, something you may also notice here is you notice there's a bunch of these mystery novels here, and there's other books in here with nice covers on them. It's like, I didn't buy all those books. These are eBooks available from my library. You can check out eBooks and audiobooks and all sorts of materials from your library directly. I use the LA Public Library for LA City. Ventura County probably has a similar system on theirs. Pretty much every library these days will have some sort of ebook checkout. And again, you don't need a Kindle. If they provide Kindle books, just have the Kindle app on your device, set up your account with them and say, I want to check that book out, and say, how do you want to download it and where do you want to send it? Here, okay. This Kindle? Yes, because basically when you set up a Kindle on these devices, it gives it a name. So this is my Douglas E. Welch iPhone 4 or something like that.
You just have to have a library card.
Yeah, you just have to have a library card. And it'll give you a standard 3-week loan of that book to read on your device.
And it disappears or what?
It expires.
Oh.
My timer just went off.
20 minutes.
This one will go out soon now because I sent one there too. Oh, I think I cleared this one. Yeah, they basically expire, and it'll say, in fact, if I click on one of these books, it'll say book loan is ended. But it will allow me to recheck it out again. If I check it out again, the nice thing is it doesn't have to re-download it. It's still on my device. So all it does is it just flips a little switch that says, yeah, he's got this book again. I can loan this book again.
There's never a late fees on these.
You, my friend, yes, that is the great thing for me. There is never any late fee. I consider library fines right up there with parking tickets and running out of gas as being one of these stupidest things you can do in life. And it just kills me. I know it's only a quarter, but it just irks me so much. With eBooks, you don't have to worry about that. Yes, they just simply expire. You don't have to worry about returning, and don't have to worry about getting to the library. And we live right near libraries, but the complications of life. We have a stack of books by the front door. Are these going back to the library? Okay, so the next person going to the library has to take those books back. Yes, in the back.
But Doug, you're so well connected, you should be able to put on your calendar, return this book.
It wasn't on this week. If I went back in the calendar, I think another week, there is one in there. Return library books is in our calendar, trust me, because we do still get a lot of paper books out.
Jim, his weight program will tell him the traffic's all slowed down.
Okay. So those are some of the basic, useful functionalities of your device. I'm going to go into a little further afield here a little bit just to show you some of the magic that can happen with your device that you should be taking advantage of. One of the most magical things, it's like right out of Star Trek, and the fact that we can do this at all blows me away to this day. Google has a Translate app. You may have used their website, right? Google Translate to translate a web page from one language to another. Well, I can come in here and I can say, I would like a cup of coffee, please. Cuppa, that's funny. And I say, let's see what it does. Okay.
私は杯の紅茶コーヒーをお願いしたいと思います。
Yeah, repeat it.
See? And if you hold it up, I don't know, there is a function on the phone. If you hold it up and hold it sideways, it'll actually, in large print, put the words. So you can actually say something, let it translate, and then hold it up to the taxi driver and say,
That's the way to do it.
and then you can hold it up to them and let them say what they want to say in response, and it'll translate it back to English for you.
Oh, that's awesome.
The weirdest thing I ever did with this, I was doing a public video chat with someone. I had a gentleman come in who was from Brazil, spoke Portuguese. I speak no Portuguese. For me, Portuguese sounds like Spanish, but wrong. So, because it does. It sounds like Spanish, but the words are all different. I held up my phone, said what I wanted to say in English, had it translated to Portuguese, played it back, and then held it up to the webcam for him. He went, oh, okay. And he did the same thing on his device. As we had this conversation through our devices. Okay, first of all, doing that in person is weird enough. Doing that over a webcam when he's in Brazil and I'm in the United States is even odder. It's magic. It's like Uhura's universal translator on Star Trek. Who ever believed we would get to this level? And the fact is, these translations are getting better and better. They are machine translations. They will not be poetic in any way. They are, literal translations in often ways. But boy, they can be really, really useful. One of the things I like too is sometimes I will happen across articles or blog posts or newspaper articles in a different language. I want a different perspective on the world. I like being global. I like understanding the global perspective on things. I'll simply translate them so I can read them. I have several Italian blogs that I subscribe to, mainly about food. My wife's family is Sicilian. And I can basically get the gist with my first grade Italian. I can get my gist of the article. But if I really want to dig into the article, I'll have it translate it for me. Another amazing thing, and this just became free because Google bought them and made the whole thing free. It was relatively expensive. Could someone grab me does someone have one of the flyers, the open flyers that was on the back table? Yeah. Can someone pass that up to me real quick? This requires a visual aid here. This is a program called Word Lens. Okay? Word Lens, like lens. This. If I point this, first of all, I selected at the bottom English to Spanish down there at the bottom. If I point this then at this, look what it does. It even tries to match the font. So if you're walking through a city street and you have a street sign, you don't want to know what it means, you can look it up. And it doesn't do perfect, but it certainly can give you the gist of what's being said. Okay? And they support, I think up to this time, they support like 10 different languages. I have Italian, I have Spanish, I have French, I have German, I have Portuguese. But this to me, when they first released this app, I was like, this is magic. This is freaking magic. I can't believe they were actually able to do that. So Word Lens, and it's now free, which makes it even better. It was expensive. It was like $20 for each language you wanted to do initially, but when Google bought them, they made the whole thing.
Another thing you can do is read that QR code that's on there.
I was going to talk about that. Yeah, I noticed that there is a QR code on there. Again, we're talking about how to use your cameras. These little square funky things that look like someone kind of smudged the paper. There's actually data stored in those. And through a variety of programs, I have one on here. It's a free one called Red Laser, but there are a variety of other ones too. And we're seeing more and more they're starting to integrate these things right into other applications. What this little code is it carries a small amount of data with it that basically, in most cases, sends you to a website. So if I bring up Red Laser on my phone, and I'm doing it here because I don't think I have it on the iPad, and I say scan, and I pointed at that QR code. It says open URL eu-open.org. And so, yes, I want to go to that website. And it takes me right to that website. Now you'll see these on apartment listings. If you're walking around the neighborhood and see an apartment or a house for sale, you'll see them in a lot of different places. I will say they're being supplanted a little bit because what happens is that visual translation has gotten so good these days that they're starting to build that. They're not even bothering with a special code. It's like they figured out I can practically read what's already there, and I'll use that instead. So the QR codes are kind of a mid-step between technologies there, but they can be very useful. Kind of going back to the original thought here at the beginning of getting places where you're supposed to be at the right time. Well, now granted, here in California we don't have a lot of weather, but we do have weather. And having a great weather application on your device can be very, very useful and actually a safety concern. It's something you can use to be safe. At this time of year, as you notice, the last couple of days we've had some pretty heavy thunderstorms down in the Orange County, San Diego area. You might want to avoid those if you're out driving around. Say you're going up to Big Bear today. Well, you may want to note to look at that storm that's over that area, right? And then if I want to, I can actually animate that and show which way it's moving and how it's developing over time. Okay, this is an app called Weather Underground. It's actually a website called Weather Underground. This is an app called Wonder Map, WUNDERMAP. There's, again, lots of devices, lots of programs like this, but especially during thunderstorm season and especially during our rainy season, yes, we do have a rainy season here, it can be very useful. The great thing about the radar photos is you can be, I was out here at the Sepulveda Dam one day doing archery with my son, and basically watching. We wanted to get as much shooting time in as we could, and so we're shooting. I keep my phone out, and I'm like, okay, we've got about another 10 minutes. And you can see the big gray cloud coming, and most people would have already left the park at this point. It's like, no, we're still good. The rain's still, a good mile away, And watch the rain march across the radar. And know exactly how much time you have. Know when you need to pack up and get the heck out, stuff like that. Wonder Map has just an amazing number of layers. They use, you may have heard you can have a weather station in your backyard that's internet connected. That's what a lot of these reports are coming in from, are people's backyard weather stations reporting via the internet back to Wonderground, to the Weather Underground, and then they plot them on the map and give them to you in real time. And actually, you can even see, I think, I'm playing now, so actually when you're seeing the stuff pop up and down, this is over time how the temperatures change. You see there was a little pop-up gray up there in the Verdugo Hills a little while ago. So 82, 76 down below where I live, and so on and so forth. And there's tons of layers you can turn on. If you're in a hurricane-prone area, you're going to a hurricane-prone area, highly recommend this because they will have hurricane tracks. If we are having storms, the same map will also show storm tracks. It'll show the weather prediction of this storm is going to move in this direction, this distance in the next hour and a half, and you can really get good planning in that way. I really, really like that when we are having thunderstorms and stuff, to see, oh, that storm's moving away from me. I don't need to worry about that. I can tell that from the storm track, so it gives me the information right there. At this point, I'm going to wrap up my planned presentation. We've had some questions already, but this is the point. If you have any questions, please feel free to hit me up. W-A-Z-E. Yes, it's one of those internet silly spellings of things. They do that for trademark purposes. You couldn't trademark the word Waze, W-A-Y-S, because it's a generic, but you can trademark Waze with a Z. So, how many people here have iPhones or iOS or iPad, Apple devices? Okay, how many people have Android devices? Ooh, good, almost equal, almost exactly equal. How many people have nothing? Okay. There are some really cheap ways of getting devices. So I know having a phone can be expensive still these days. It's still not cheap. If the phone itself is cheap, the contract can still be quite expensive. Now, I just saw you say, now I'm not a big fan of Walmart, just for a variety of reasons, not a big fan of them, but they are selling the iPhone 5 for 89 cents, nothing, basically, with a 2-year contract. So if you're looking for a device that used to cost $100 to $200, that's a way of getting a smartphone device. The alternative to that is what my son does. He has my old iPhone. Okay, when I upgraded, I actually bartered for this phone. This was a used phone that I bartered with my clients with to get an upgrade to the 4S. He has a 4, my original 4 that I bought. He doesn't have cell phone service, but he tends to have Wi-Fi wherever he goes. He's got Wi-Fi at school. He's got Wi-Fi at home. He's got Wi-Fi at the girlfriend's house. He's got Wi-Fi at the mall, and so he's pretty much, he's not 100% connected, but he's probably about 75% connected, no matter where he is. Especially now with the Time Warner and the cable companies have the cable Wi-Fi system that you may be seeing popping up on your devices all around town, where if you subscribe to cable, and we only use the cable internet, but that still allows us to do this, you can connect to those Wi-Fi devices for free as well. And they're all over town. They're quite ubiquitous, actually. I was really surprised. You can use a device just on Wi-Fi and still get a lot of the benefit of it. This iPad is only Wi-Fi, but I will tell my wife before she leaves college to come home on her commute, she can run her traffic, she can run her ways here first and just see what slowdowns there might exist right then. She can check that on the way. And as she's traveling around town, it's really weird. I do this with my Kindle Fire too, which is only a Wi-Fi device. I'll have it in my bag and I'll be driving along, all of a sudden it'll go boom. It's like, oh, must have driven by a Time Warner Wi-Fi access point. It grabbed enough signal that it grabbed my mail while I was driving by, or stopped at a stoplight. So you'd be surprised how ubiquitous Wi-Fi is out there, and that is a way of getting a really cheap device. typically people will pass down their phones to you for free. If they're upgrading to a phone and they don't have anyone to pass it down to, grab it, because it still works as a Wi-Fi device. You know, it works like an iPod Touch, if you will, which is only a Wi-Fi device. You get a heck of a lot of use out of that device, having no cell phone coverage at all. And typically, you still have the ability to call 911 from that phone, even if you don't have cell phone service. There's a lot of charities out there that will take your old phones for free because they give them to people in domestic abuse shelters, so they have an emergency phone with them at all times, even though they don't have cell phone coverage. Yes? Yeah, it's a little more technical, but yeah, what I've done for my son too is if he wants to text or do phone calls and he's on Wi-Fi, he can through using the Google Voice app, I can make his phone ring if he's on Wi-Fi, and he can take a phone call. So he can talk to his girlfriend if he wants to on the phone, although usually it's texting. Usually it's texting. But they can actually make a phone call using just the Wi-Fi. You basically it's like doing a video conference call or an audio conference call over Skype or something else. It's just using Wi-Fi instead of the cellular system.